My name is Giovanni. I am a PhD student. Um, Actually, my research is focused on executive compensation in the public sector for the case of university presidents, hospital CEOs, and deputy ministers. The main purpose of my project is try to analyze what kind of political factors will be influencing the executive compensation in the public sector, basically. So I have to find what kind of relationships are these ones. So I've been working on, based on some theoretical framework that you always need that. You more or less have an idea of what kind of variables are influence that. Could be, for example, the performance of the institution or the private sector salary that can influence also public sector salary. But there are some variables in which that haven't been explored enough that are related with political factors. So my main focus is try to verify or try to be if there is some data that can support that idea. The methodology that I've been using are basically statistical methods. And to be more specific, I've been using econometric methods. What are these econometric methods? Basically, are statistical methods but are focused on economic data. Okay? And at the end of the day, these statistical methods or econometric methods are trying to establish or help you to establish what are these simple relationships between one variable with another set of variables. So this is in essence what you have to do. The reason why I choose that method is based on my research question, okay? And what is my research question is basically try to find what political factors are influencing the executive compensation in the public sector. So to try to find these relationships, statistical methods, I would say, are the best option. Mm-hmm. And the type, you have primary data and also secondary data. In my case, I've been using secondary data. So I've been using different kind of data sets from the public sector. And for each one of these sectors, universities, hospitals, and deputy ministers. Where do I find? There is some information that is available for the public domain. In the case, for example, of executive compensation. And when I am talking about this executive compensation, I don't have access to executive compensation to all Canada. I am focusing on executive compensation in Ontario, that they have a huge data set from 1996 until today. So that is one source of information. And the other data sets are related with the variables that I am looking for that could help to explain this executive compensation. So in this case, I need, for example, performance indicators of these institutions, levels of revenue, like total margin, profits of that institutions, and so on. And for the case of political, to try to get at an idea of the influence of political factors, the main variable that I've been taking into consideration is the salary of prime ministers. So this information of ministers is also available. So there are different data sets that I've been using. So more or less, I would say 5 or 6 different data sets. Part of the challenges, the ideal it could be to have all the information for Canada, but what we try to do is, okay, let's take Ontario, that it represents, let's say, a big province that can give you some idea of what is happening at that level of executive compensation in the rest of Canada. There have been different challenges behind that, in the sense that in some cases there has been some data sets that have been easy to get access, or they are in public, but there have been other data sets in which you require certain level of permission. So in the case of hospitals, there is an institution that is the Canadian Institute for Health Information. So to get access to that kind of data set, I need to make a request, and these follow some sort of bureaucratic procedure. So at the beginning, in the web page, they say that it will take 3 months in average maybe to get the information that you want. But at the end of the day, in my case, it took like 9 months to get access. First, because they were updating the data sets, and I say that yes, I can wait a little bit more to get that more updated data sets. But at the same time, there were some doubts from the officials there, so I had to talk with them, explain them what specific data I need, the level of detail that I was looking for, and so on. So this took some time. At the end of the day, I got the data. That has been one of the challenges that I have. And the other challenge that I have, in which I had to expend a lot of hours on the internet, is try to find private sector executive compensation. That kind of information are normally, they are not public, and the institutions who have this kind of information are private consulting firms. So, and they are not going to give you this kind of information, because normally they sell this information to another companies. So how do I manage to that kind of information is start contacting all these kind of consulting firms to be if I can find some very kind person who can give me access. It was not possible, but at the end I found one particular company in which they have a program for academicians, in which you need to do also some request, and they give you access to all the databases that they had. So to arrive to that point, to get that, it took me almost year and a half, okay? But finally I get it. But the main point here is that I am doing a PhD, so in average this takes 4 years. So you have to do in advance, try to see what are the main variables that you are looking for, and then what are the other variables that maybe not get the ideal information, and you don't have to waste too much time on that. Maybe one of the main challenges for me is that I spent too much time maybe in another kind of variables that maybe they were not the most important ones. I think the main skills that you need to address any research question, particularly when you are doing quantitative analysis, is that you need to have a background in, let's say, in basic statistics initially. From there, from these basic statistics, that will be very helpful if you want to do a report or a non-academic paper. Also, the other thing that you need to know, I will say, depending on your research question, you have to be very clear about what is going to be the theory behind that is going to help you to address that question. So you need to read, I will say, a lot about that, so that will give you a much better sense. But basically, the main quantitative skills that I will say are the most important are these statistical skills. That sometimes people think, oh my gosh, statistics is going to be something really difficult, even though I have never taken any course related with that, and that is not that the case, I will say. Here in the school, I think in the courses that you have related with that, try to make you very easy to understand. In my case, for analyzing the data, I use a software that is called Stata, that you have access here at the university. They have a license for all the students. So basically, Stata help you to do all these kind of statistical analysis and econometric analysis. But you need to understand, let's say, the language or the code that you need for this program. It's a little bit challenge at the beginning to get used to this, but it's not something that has to scare you. I think if you start doing simple things like descriptive statistics, you can do these inferential statistics, you can do simple regression analysis and that kind of things. That will give you a better sense of what you can do and what is going to be the power of this software. And then you can start from there building another kind of skills and understand how to make code for more complex analysis. Yes, for outside academia, I will say that having these quantitative skills or these kind of quantitative methods are really very important. It's also important to say that I'm not saying that qualitative methods are not important. I will say if you complement both of them, both tools will give you, let's say, you can get better conclusions maybe, depending on the kind of research that you are doing. So yes, definitely this kind of statistical analysis you are going to find in reports or non-academic papers, let's say.